Welcome, sadhakas. We are visiting mathematical domains of Ganita Upsutras. We are approaching Ganita Upsutras sutra wise. Today, our attention is to the text of Ganita Upsutra 4 and the values of the mathematical domain of Ganita Upsutra 4 and the way the organization format features help us to have visit to the mathematical domain sutra. The text with TCV, transcendental code values, and with Vedic code values is to be approached. Placement of Ganita Sutra 4 in the integrated format recognized, to be appreciated, and its features of this placement as well imbibed. To have proper imbibing of the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutra 4, Kevale Saptakam Gunayat, we have to first of all be face to face with phenomenon of hypercircles, which increase up to 1 to 7 and go on decreasing from 8 onwards. Hypercircles increase from 1 to 7 would mean that the boundary of hypercircle 1 to 7 is of sequential increase as much as that hypercircle 1 is having a pair of endpoints, so value 2, hypercircle 2, 2 pi r is leading us to value pi for a circle of diameter 1. So if we compute values of hypercircles 1 to 7 for diameter 1, then we will come face to face with this phenomenon, increase of the boundaries, surface areas of these in increasing progression, but only up till hypercircle 7. And from hypercircle 8 onwards, the new phenomenon of decrease will come into play. Why it is happening and why the modern mathematical axioms are not in a position to reach at a conclusion as to why this is happening. Simply as the axioms and postulates of modern mathematics are linear in order, while Vedic mathematics is having spatial and higher dimensional order. By linear order, we mean one space is playing the role of a dimension. This means axes are linear, means on lines contributing one coordinate. It is single coordinate reach of the axis is the central focus insistence of the modern axioms, and Vedic mathematics is transcending this limitation by having transition and transformation from linear axis to spatial, solid, and higher dimensional formats of the axis. So here, let us transit from linear axis to a spatial axis. Means two space to play the role of a dimension. Two space in the role of a dimension will take us to hypercube 4, representative regular body of a fourth space as of quadruple values 2, 3, 4, 5 parallel with 2 spaces dimension, 3 spaces boundary, 4 spaces domain, and 5 spaces origin. This is the crucial phase and stage of comprehension for proper transition from present day linear axioms mathematics to spatial order Vedic mathematics. Ganita Upsutra 4, Kevale Saptam Gunayat, is bringing us face to face with this reach, this limitation. And to be beyond that, we have to go parallel with Sapteshwara Upanishad enlightenment, which provides results, which brings us with as that while the first three dimensions will be parallel with the values of the article, while the fourth axis will transit and transform from linear order to a spatial order. And because of it, the fourth phase and stage value will not be restricted to 7, but instead it will be 8. Sapteshwara Upanishad enlightenment is that for enlightenment, for transcendence from the limitations of linear order, we have to work out quadruple values 1, 2, 3, 8, not 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1, 2, 3, 7. We know there are 7 geometries space. We also know there are 7 versions of hyper. However, this insistence of the linear order will naturally block us seventh geometry, 3 space. However, we know that 3 space admits cut 8 octets. This split, this cut 3 space into 8 octets is not because of 3 linear axes, because of triple spatial axis. We cut a soap cake 8 parts by having a cut along x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis in terms of the blade of the knife having that flow direction. So these are 3 spaces, 3 spatial dimensions, 3 times the use of a blade of a knife, which is cutting 3 space into 8 octaves. If we insist upon the linear order, if we insist upon triple linear axis as a frame, as a dimensional frame for a 3 space, then we are bound to struck up till the 7th geometry, and beyond that is going to be a domain which is beyond the reach of the linear axiom. Now, sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with the Vedic system reach at the spatial dimensional order, which would mean to have a grasp of the 8th octet. Then one is to visit transition from Gyan Vigyan Yog, chapter 7 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, to Akshar Brahma Yog, chapter 8, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Gyan Vigyan Yog, the 7th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, is concluding its reach by having a poser of the 7 questions which remain answered. And it is the 8th chapter, Akshar Brahm Yog chapter, which is reserving the answers for these 7 questions. Value 7 and value 8 is impliedly having proper indication for us as that the Gyan Vigyan Yog is having transition beyond as an Akshar Brahm Yog. value 7 to value 8. It is in fact a transition from hypercube 3 to hypercube 4. It is that way a transition from linear order 3 space to spatial order 4 space. Therefore, sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity efforts to be parallel with Vedic systems have to have a full comprehension, a complete insight, and a thorough enlightenment about the mathematical domain Kevale Saptakam Gunayat. For it, we have to be face to face with all 10 folds of TC values of entire text of Sutra 4 as a composition of triple formulations, Kevale Saptakam Gunayat. As such, to be face to face with the mathematical domain and other connected features of Ganita Upsutra 4, we shall be through these sequential steps. Step number 1 is that let us be face to face with TCB values of this entire text, which is of 21 letters and is of TCB value 92, which is 8 less than 100. 8 is the TCB value of ek. So one more than it, one more than this phase and stage of Kevale Saptakam Gunak will take us to 100. Shat. As such, this is the feature which deserves to be imbibed well. In fact, we have to be sequentially through the unfolding process of these 21 steps. Text of Ganita Sutra 4. Value 21 is the summation value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, parallel with the format of a Sthapatya mirroring rod. Therefore, the inside reach of this organization is going to provide us the necessary insight needed for the appropriate enlightenment of this mathematical domain. The step connected with this step is that simultaneously, along with the transcendental code values setup of this text, we shall also be at Vedic code values of this text. Now, on the computer screen is tabulated Vedic code values tabulation of this text. And see the first 3 syllables. Here, vowels are not having any values attached with them. So, the first 3 syllables lead us to the values for the 3 consonants. And the 3 consonants are ka, wa, and la. They are having Vedic code values 143. The value 143 is having an organization of 11 multiplied by 13. This 11 multiplied by 13 would mean that in a grid 11, 13, there will be an accommodation for 12 square, 144 double-digit numbers of 12 place value system. Therefore, to have a reach of the mathematical domain of Ganita Upsutra 4, we have to transit 10 place value system with 12 place value system. Now see, if we divide 1 by 7, it will be recurring 0.142857, 142857. And if we visit this organization of 6 letters frequency repetition, then 142 and 847 as two parts together with parallel placements are of summation value 1000. So this organization feature for 143 as an half answer for the fraction 1 over 7, and the second part 857 is going to be the complement of 142, 1 less than 143, 142 from 1000. So this is the feature which deserves to be comprehended well. And it is with this comprehension that we will be face to face with how the placement of Ganita Sutra 4 in between Ganita Sutra 4 and Ganita Sutra 5, Pravarte Yojit and Shunyam Same Samuche, will bring us face to face with a transition from Ganita Upsutra 4 to Ganita Upsutra 5 based from oscullators. So how there is to be a transition from Ganita Upsutra 4 to Ganita Sutra 5 is inherently inbuilt here in this organization placements. Sorry. Therefore, sadhakas fulfilled with intensity efforts to be parallel with Vedic system, Vedic mathematics of Ganita Sutras and Upsutras shall imbibe well the placements of Ganita Sutras along with Ganita Sutras along a single integrated format, 29 steps, 16 sutras and 13. A step ahead, we have to have a complete posure for us as that how to have a transition from the limitations because of hypercircles reach of increase up till 1 to 7 and decrease thereafter, and how this transition is to be attained by having a transition for the linear order, linear axis setup of a three space, spatial order setup of four space. So instead of the values 1, 2, 3, 7, we have to transit to the quadruple 1, 2, 3, 8. It is this reach which is going to be the attainment, and this is going to be an enlightenment attainment. It is enlightenment attainment as one is transiting from the limitations of a three space and is entering the spatial space of a four space. With this in mind, we shall visit Gyan Vigyan Yoga of Gita chapter 7 of 30 shlokas range to Akshar Brahm Yoga of chapter 8 of 28 shlokas range. One can have a pause here and note down that value 30 is equal to the total structural components of a cube as 8 corner points, 6 surfaces, 12 edges, volume 1, and 3 dimensions. And also the values range 1 to 30 leads to 1 to 60 factors. It duplicates itself. However, value 28 is the value of a second perfect number, and the values range 1 to 28 also leads to 56 factors, which are double of 28. Therefore, the transition from chapter 7 to chapter 8 is going to be a transition from value 30 to value 28, which is of the format of domain and dimension. Difference value is 2. So increase from 7 to 8 as a linear increase is not going to be of any help. Rather, it is going to be a cause of the limitation. However, reach from value 30 to value 28, which is in a reverse orientation, a diminishing value 2, which will take from 30 as a domain to 28 as a dimension. So it is the orientation which matters, and it is the orientation which is having a transition from domain to dimension also matters. Let us have a revisit to the setup of an interval. It is a setup within a pair of endpoints. And as there are pair of endpoints, so there will be pair of orientations. These pair of orientations will lead us to value +1 and -1. The difference is 2. It is this difference value which deserves to be comprehended well to have a smooth transition from the linear order mathematics of the day to the spatial order mathematics of ancient times. Ancient wisdom, Vedas, Vedic mathematics, Vedic sciences, Vedic technologies, Vedic systems are accepting four space as the creators of space. Three space bodies as well are manifesting. These are manifested creations of a four space format. Once we will be in a position to have this insight as that our solids are manifested creations of a four space, and these solids acquire a degree of freedom of motion within four space, which in fact amounts to a transition from static state to a dynamic state. Therefore, we shall be entering a dynamic universe instead of having a model for our existence phenomenon as a static one. We have to transit and transform from static state to a dynamic state. It is in this background that we shall visit the 7 questions at which the reach of chapter 7, and to be parallel with the answers, we have to be with the answers as are of chapter 8 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Now, to have further insight about the mathematical domain of Ganita Upsutra 4, we shall be through all the 10 folds, all the 3 formulations of the text of Ganita Upsutra 4. The first formulation, Kevale, is leading us to value 13741, 568, 195, 79, 152, 75, 591, giving a summation value 1910 as is stipulated. The formulation Saptakam is leading us to values 138, 25, 58, 173, 76, 405, 435, or summation value 1068, while the formulation Gunyat is leading us to 838. These triple formulations together lead us to value 1910. Not it is not 910, it is 1910, and 1068, 838 total, making it 16, which is 184 less than 4000. 144, 184 is equal to 8 multiplied by 3. means there is a transcendental origin, 5 space as a origin, where the addition and multiplication operation 3 plus 5, 3 multiplied as 23 superimposed. There are 8 boundary components. So the format mathematical domain Ganita Upsutra 4 is the format of hypercube. And along this format that Ganita Upsutra 4 is unfolding its mathematical domain. Thank you very much.